What's up, guys? John Bird III here, and we're back again for another video. And in today's video, we're going to talk about my go-to rod and setup for throwing a swim worm. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever a new video drops and hits the channel. So, we're going to talk about my swim worm setup, the best swim worm rod I feel like that it is that's out there. And in particular, I'm gonna give you two or three options. I'm gonna give you three options. All right. So my favorite rod to throw a swim worm is the Team Lose Elite Series 7.3 medium heavy fast. This rod right here is a freaking dream to fish with. So it comes with your Dry Tech Ultra Pro Weave grips on here. This pattern right here is also on the custom light rods. So it is very, very soft and comfortable. I love this particular pattern, this weave pattern in this rod series. It feels very good at hand. And it has the Lose full contact reel seat. So I'm actually able to get 3 fingers, and I have fat, kind of beefy hands, but they're not super long, but I can get 3 fingers right here on here, and I'm able to feel the blank the whole time I'm swimming my worm. Now, this rod right here, good soft tip to it, but guess what? It jumps into that backbone within, let's say, let's say the 5th guide from the tip, it jumps into that backbone. That 4th, 5th guide to the tip jumps to the backbone, and guess what? It's game time then. So, the cool thing about this rod is, like, it's super lightweight. So this is Lu's highest end rod that they make in their complete portfolio. So it runs right around that 350, 370, 380 price point. But let me tell you, it is a great rod to fish with. Now, this is on the higher end of things, right? So why spend the money on a rod to throw a swim worm like this? So you want to be able to detect those subtle bites, right? So this rod right here is perfect for that. Now, it's super sensitive, and that's what you expect to get when you're looking at more higher end rods, right? I don't believe in investing in higher end rods unless it's a technique that you use a lot. So on Santee, we throw swim worms a whole lot. And I believe there's a sneaky bite on another lake around here that I'm not going to talk about. But anyway, again, this is my go-to rod that I typically use. Now, another rod that I definitely recommend that you use, and that rod is the Lose Custom Light 7-foot, 6-inch Carolina rig big worm rod. I actually used this rod on Santee Cooper doing a Fishes of Men tournament, and here is a couple fish catches from that video. Sun gets up, I'm gonna use that watermelon a little bit. I'm gonna dig that back where we had a couple bites yesterday. Easy, brother.
Now he run up towards me.
Yeah, they do that. They do that here. They keep pressure on.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
Good Lord. How big is that for? You good one?
Yeah, you're good one. Yes, sir. Come on. Let's go.
So this rod, like I said, it's 7'6", so it's a longer rod compared to the 7'3". And when you're making them long bomb casts, you need that. But with that 7'3", it's perfect for me. Like, I love that. Now, the 7'6" doesn't feel super duper heavy in hand. It doesn't feel like a long rod. You know, this might sound weird, but you ever fished a rod that is long and it feels long versus fishing another rod that's the same length but it feels shorter? weird, right? So for example, what I mean by that is the Hackney 7.6 Signature Series pitching stick is a long rod, but it fishes like it's a 7.3, 7.4. So the Custom Light doesn't fish like a 7.6, but you know that you got that extra length to it. So in that video there that you, on those clips that you saw, again, super long bomb cast, one of those fish even like a tap tap. And as I was pulling over the grass, and I didn't realize, I was like, oh, he got it. And then when I reeled in the slack, it didn't feel like he was on there. So I just kept reeling, and then you could feel the fish just swimming with it. That's when I set the hook. And so when I having that longer rod allowed me to be able to take up more line. So that's what you want when you have longer rods. Longer rods allow you to be able to take up more line. And that's why I like the 7'6" Custom Light rod, which is a great rod to use. So it's a medium heavy power, fast action, just like the Elite Series rod, which is a 7.3 medium heavy power, fast action. But the Custom Light has the same tip as the 7'3". Those two rods there, and let me say this also, if you like a 7'3", that's shorter, but the Elite Series rod is out your price point, the Custom Lights have a 7'3" medium heavy power, fast action jig rod. Very, when I say very, I mean super duper close as far as power and action, like actually fishing them. Because you know, when some model rods and different brands, sometimes the power and actions, they vary a good bit. Those two rods are almost identical. So if the Elite Series rod is out your price point, definitely go and check out the Custom Lights, because they range somewhere between that 450 to 480. I mean, excuse me, 150 to 180 price point. And so that is what I call a more of a that's your working man's price point in my frame of mind. So $100 to $200, maybe $250. That's the working man, weekend warriors price point when it comes to rods. So I love that Custom Light rod. Let me tell you, that rod there is fire. So that's definitely a rod that you're gonna want to check out and add to your arsenal if you're looking for a good swim worm. So if you're living in Florida and you got grass, definitely go get it. Santee Cooper, go get it. Potomac River, go get it. Either one, don't matter, whatever your price point is. And if that's still too much for your budget, go check out, and I have one over there, is the TP2 7.3 medium heavy power extra fast action. That's the jig rod there. And so that's another good one as well. So that's at that 109 price point. So right a little above $100. So that's another good rod to actually have. And I said I was only going to do, I gave you a couple honorable mentions, but my other great option that I'm going to throw in there, and y'all know I love this series, is the Team Lou Signature Series. This is the Mark Rose swim bait rod. So it's a 7'6", medium heavy power, fast action. But this rod actually, you see that? It has good tip, just like that Elite Series rod. And then it gets down into that backbone about that fifth guide down there. So this is another great rod to throw if you want a rod that got more length to it. And these run somewhere between 180 and a little over 200. So this rod actually, this is one of those rods that actually fishes and feels longer than what it is. And more so than anything, I know what the difference is. It's the handle length. So this actually has a little bit longer handle. So if you like to tuck that handle, you got it right here on this swim bait rod. And this rod is super versatile because it's labeled a swim bait, but it's not a swim bait rod that you throw like your glides and stuff like that. This is, when these rods were developed, originally that model came from the Custom Pro line in the Ledge series. And you have to keep in mind, that rod was designed for ledge swim bait. So you're talking Shadowlicious, big Shadowlicious, exposed hook on the jig head, firing it out there on the TVA on one of those Ledge series rods, cranking that thing, just winding that thing. That's what that rod was designed for. It wasn't designed for, like I said, your glide baits. I mean, you could throw like a final copy, a full-size final copy on there, but I feel like that rod is a little bit too soft for that rod, for that bait because the full size final copy got some weight to it. You can throw the smaller one, the smaller final copy. I got one over there. Thought I did. You can throw the smaller final copy on there, but again, I think this rod works better for, again, like what Mark Rose designed it for. But it's a great swim worm rod, and a rod that y'all have heard me talk about, the best jig rod, swim jig rod, the Mark Rose jig worm rod. That's another great option throwing swim worm. But my go-to again is the Elite Series rod. Now, reels. Haven't talked about my reels, and the reel that I typically throw on a swim worm is T-News Hypermag, right? So if you know the Hypermag, 5.2 ounces, super lightweight. Now I do. Let me say this. I actually vary between two different reels. So, or reel sizes in loose portfolio. So the Hypermag is considered a 32 millimeter spool, and that's considered more so like your 100 size reel. So whatever that it'll hold like 120 yards of, 110 yards of 12-pound fluoro, or 110 yards of 50-pound braid. Man, those are tongue twisters. But I normally run 17 to 20-pound fluorocarbon on my swim worms. I don't care whether there's grass there. I mean, of course, you're throwing the swim worm in grass, but I don't put braid on my swim worm. I don't do that. So 20-pound, 17 to 20-pound fluoro, you can make a super long bomb cast. But if I feel like, and let me say this, another option is that I use as well is the custom with the all new Paramac RX braking system. I use this when I'm throwing a smaller swim worm, right? So when I'm throwing the Magnum, the full size swim worms, I go to the Hypermag, and then when I'm throwing the smaller swim worms, lighter weight on the weight size, I go down to that. But if I feel like I need just a little bit more line, bigger size reel, I tend to go to the Tournament Pro. 34 millimeter. This is considered like your 150 size. So like Corrado 150 MGL, something like that. So it'll hold 120 yards of 12 or 120 yards of 50-pound braid. But I typically run 17 to 20 on there as well. So if I feel like I need that little bit more extra line, I will go to the Tournament Pro. And if you saw in those clips, I was actually throwing the Tournament Pro on the custom lights. And again, super long cast, wasn't having backlash issues, had plenty of line on there, even if I got a nick somewhere out there, because on Santee, when you're throwing on the grass flat, sometimes there are stumps there. And if you're dragging it, because I had to drag the swim worm versus actually swimming it that day, sometimes you're going to reel into some of those stumps a little bit. So if you got to cut your line down, the bigger the spool, it gives you more line capacity on there as well. So I vary between those three reels, but those typically are the two options, or the 2 to 3 options that I go with. Now, swim worms. What swim worms do I throw? I'll be transparent. Majority of the time, I throw the cutter worms unless it's a very specific color. There's a very specific color that works on Santee Cooper, and those are the Magnums that Strike King doesn't have in their lineup. I'm not gonna say what that color is. If you're from down that way, what they say, if you know, you know. I have a bunch of packs of that specific color, but I throw that color there is Blue Craw Red Flake. You take your dipping dye, or I got like the zoom pen, the highlighter pen, or whatever, the chartreuse pen, and I color my tail chartreuse. And that's typically what I use. So I throw the 7-inch, and I throw the 7-inch on any one of these rods, same reels. But when I go down to the standard size cutter worm, I go to Custom Pro, something a little bit smaller of a reel. And those are the two size worms. Colors, Blue Craw Red Flake, can't never go wrong, Green Pumpkin, Watermelon Red. Honestly, I wish Strike King would bring this color over, and I've mentioned it a bunch of times. In the Rage Bug, my favorite color is Chameleon. And I wish they would bring that color pattern over into the other Rage and other just soft plastics as a whole, because it has like that Green Pumpkin, a little bit of Royal Blue, Pumpkin Seed, red or Watermelon Red Flake on there. Like it's a big gumbo pot, but it's a great color that you can use in multiple different water clarity colors. So And then, of course, your black and blues, your June bugs, stuff like that, and your dirtier water. Those are the other colors that I throw. Weight size. Now, weight size, I typically go 3/16 is my go-to. But if I'm fishing deeper hydrilla, and even though it's topping out, I switch to a quarter. If it's deeper hydrilla, I go down to the quarter. Now, if the hydrilla is sitting down in that water column further down, that's when I go to the quarter. If it's up higher, I go to a 3/16, or maybe a little bit lighter. But typically, a 3/16 is where I start, and a quarter is my max. I don't typically go up to a 3/8. I feel like that's too much weight. So anywhere from let's just say an eighth, and I don't rarely throw an eighth, but an eighth to a quarter is perfect. And I give y'all a little tip. If you take that Magnum cuttle worm, put no weight on there, and if you're around pads or top dot grass or whatever, you can fire that sucker out there and just constantly reel. And that tail, it'll act like I guess you call it weedless buzz bait, and it'll just work on top of that grass. So that's a little tip for you with the cuttle worms that I like. Now, hook, I got 2 options for you. I got 3 options actually. My number 1 option for the standard size range cuttle worm, or whether it's a zoom worm, don't matter, is an Owner 5/0 haymaker hook. Now, the Owner 5/0 haymakers are technically like a 4/0. They're shorter, right? So, Owner 5/0 haymaker hook, that's for the standards. Now, when I go into my bigger swim worms, I either go to a 5/0 Owner offset wide gap worm hook. That is my go-to hook. But another sneaky hook, because I know a lot of guys throw swim worms on straight shanks, go to, telling you, this works. The Owner, it is the screw lock hook, right? But it's the one that it's the screw lock, it's the flipping hook, but it has the screw lock on there. That's the one. It's a 3X strong hook, so it's super strong, and you can flip and pitch with it, whether you just want to flip and pitch a stick bait, rage bug, whatever. But for a swim worm, if you're that guy that likes to throw a swim worm on the straight shank hook, that is the deal. Because again, whenever they bite it, I mean, it's a straight shank hook. You ain't got no barb nowhere, any of that, and then that screw lock, that center pin hook is just going to get out the way anyway. So that's the hooks. Those are the hooks that I typically use. And all that stuff will be linked down in the description. But again, if you're looking for the best swim worm rod and you don't have a budget, this right here. The Elite Series 7.3 medium heavy fast. I hate that I did that. The Elite Series 7.3 medium heavy fast, great deal. But if you're on the budget, TP2 7.3 medium heavy fast. If you're that mid-tier guy, either 6 Series 7.6 medium heavy fast, the swim bait rod, Mark Rose swim bait rod, or the jig worm rod 7.2 heavy mod fast, or custom like 7.6 Carolina rig big worm rod is the deal. So I basically gave you 1, 2, 3, 4. I give you 5 options on swim worms, right? The main one, the Elite Series. I mean, the deal. But I gave you 4 other options that'll work as well. So that's it for today's video. If you like these type of videos where I talk about my techniques and the rods that I'm using and then throwing some fish catches, make sure you leave a comment down below. I'm trying to do that a lot more. Shout out to my guy Todd Castledine. He does that in his clips and I think it's pretty cool. So I started to adapt that into some of my videos when I'm talking about very specific things. So, and that's something that you're going to see across the channel moving forward. But yeah, so I'm JB3. I got to get back to living the dream. I'll catch you later.